Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are checking out another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth release. This time we've got one of the Frenzy Packs. This is the Iani, and this figure does look super cool. It's also an epic species choice from Mattel, which I am really happy about because I don't think I have any figures of this species, or at least I didn't until now. But you can see again the packaging is pretty much what you would expect for the Frenzy Packs. You can also see here, once you turn it around and take a look at the back, we have all of the other figures that are in the line. Again, all of which will be up for review at some point in the near future, except maybe the Proceratosaurus. I don't know if that one's any different. I actually have not acquired that one quite yet because I feel like it's the same as the previously released ones, but I'm sure I'm going to pick it up at some point soon. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box, and check it out. So here is our Iani, and you can see again it looks really quite nice, honestly, and even better in person than I was expecting it to look. I had seen a few other people acquiring this one previously and again sharing images of it, but I haven't actually really realized how darn nice the sculpt of this one was until right now. I feel like this is definitely going to be another of those figures that once I start seeing this one pop up in store, that I'm going to buy a whole bunch of them because I really quite like it. But if we start up here in the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks really quite nice. We do have some skin texture here in the face, some kind of bumpy scales that you can see. There's also like a really cool kind of purplish tone there around the eye, which I quite like. The face is also a blue, like a really dark blue, and I did not realize that previously from the images and everything I had seen. I thought it was just the same dark green as the body, but it actually is not. The beak, though, is a dark green, which is pretty cool. Again, I like that little variation of color there moving through the head. The eye painted with a yellow and given a nice black pupil does look quite nice, and all of the fine detail, even in the beak, looks really good here in the face of the dinosaur. Moving up here to the top of the head, you can see the bumpy scales again, but as you move back into the neck, we start to pick up some feathers, kind of almost like emu-like feathering, I guess you could say, almost downy sort of feathers, but they look pretty nice. They are primarily a green, at least at this point in time, and you can see the throat there for the dinosaur. Leading back, we do have articulation in the neck, of course, up and down. That's really about it. You can't go left or right or anything. It's very clearly just up and down. As you continue to move further back into the body, we can see more and more of the feathers. I also like that you start to see the brown kind of creeping through the green, so basically just sneaking its way in as we continue to move through. We can see the arms sculpted pretty nicely. Again, more of those feathers leading down the arm, but as you lead down, you start to see the skin texture popping back up, basically in like the elbow area, and then moving down into the hand. You've got the fingers sculpted pretty decently, some nice scales on the fingers, as well as the claws unpainted, but they do have a gloss coat, so they do shine at least fairly nicely. We also have arm articulation forward and back for the figure, and I'm also not super familiar with the species, so I don't know for sure if we have the correct digits there on the fingers, but I'm going to assume so. I guess I'll have to look into it a little more after this because I'm not all that familiar with this dinosaur. It's not one that I've ever been super interested in, but in usual fashion, Mattel and many other companies out there, but Mattel specifically, has been really pulling out many obscure species lately that kind of draw my interest into other dinosaurs that I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to in the past and probably should pay more attention to moving forward. So on top of giving us incredibly cool dinosaur action figures, they also pique our interest in learning about different dinosaurs we don't really know a whole lot about. But you can see as you lead down, the green starts to disappear, and then we transition to a brown for the majority of the body color. You can also see again that we've got some nice looking skin texture. The feathers basically move over the top of the dinosaur at this point, and then we have skin texture for the lower part of the dinosaur, and the skin texture looks pretty good, quite vibrant overall. There is also a little bit of a speckling that I can see on this one as you move through, but you can also see again more of the feathers leading along the back of the dinosaur, also leading down into the thigh, but they disappear about halfway down through the thigh, and we have basically just the skin texture returning. But again, it looks really good. You've got the kneecap right there, the musculature shown off quite nicely in both the thigh and calf, and then you lead down into the foot sculpt, and you've got some scoots moving down the toes, nicely sculpted claws, again with some kind of fine detail to them, but not a whole lot. They do again have a bit of a satin shine, which is nice, and the skin texture looks pretty good. In typical Mattel fashion, you also have, again, forward and back leg articulation. You don't usually ever have crazy impressive articulation in the Danger Packs or Frenzy Packs or anything like that, but it's usually okay. And then you lead out into the tail, and you can see the feathers again start to disappear as you lead down, and you return to a skin texture for the rest of the tail leading through. You do also have a little bit of a curve to the tail as you lead out, and the tail does swivel, which is also pretty common for Mattel. The underside has a little bit of a different look to it when it comes to the style of skin texture. Also, there is the fax app code if you would like to add this one to your collection. And then when you turn the figure around, of course, it's going to look pretty much the same because for the most part it's pretty straightforward except for that curve in the tail. And, of course, the positioning for the leg, as the leg is taking a step forward on this side, so a little bit of a different look from one side to the other, but overall, that's definitely a really nice figure of a super cool species choice that we did not have previously, not just in the Mattel line, but I don't know anybody that has even made one at all. For a size, the Frenzy Packs are pretty much going to be the standard size range you would expect, so lengthwise a little bit over 7¼ inches or around 18½ centimeters. For a height to the top of the head just shy of 2½ inches or a little bit under 6½ centimeters. About 2½ inches or 6½ centimeters for the tip of the tail, and just a hair over that when you lead into the back. So pretty close to the same size height-wise the entire way through, with the back being just a little bit higher than everywhere else. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Iani. And you can see again, size-wise, it is exactly the size range you would expect it for. Again, being like a Danger Pack size range or Attack Pack, as the new ones are called Frenzy Packs. You can see it's exactly the same size pretty much as the Colovosaurus there. So if you are familiar with this line, you're going to have a pretty good idea of the size of this one. And then one more comparison. I don't really feel like we need very many when it comes to this figure, but we have a standard Mattel Velociraptor here. Again, if you are a Mattel collector, you've definitely got to have a Velociraptor from some point in time, so this comparison should give you a pretty good idea of the size of this one. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Rebirth Frenzy Pack Iani is a very nice figure. Actually, sculpt-wise, it's one of the nicest figures I think I've seen from Mattel in a little while. I just really like this one, and I'm actually kind of dying to repaint one because I feel like even though the color scheme that they've given us here is okay, this one could be pretty spectacular looking with a more detailed paint job. Again, especially when it comes to just how vibrant the sculpt is. I love the fact that this one is somewhat feathered, but a little bit skin textured, you know, throughout, giving it a fun visual with some feathers that not every dinosaur in the Mattel line gets, so I'm really appreciating the fact that they are including feathers more and more, but the skin textured areas are also really well done with a good bit of variation to the type and style of skin texture through the course of the body. The paint apps, again, are okay, nothing super impressive, but they're pretty much what you would expect for a Mattel release. I really wish they would start painting the claws on all of their figures all the time, but sadly we don't get that here. But that's extremely common when it comes to this line of figures. You do have some fun articulation as well, giving you a little bit of posability for the figure, and that is also quite common for the Frenzy Packs, Danger Packs, stuff like that. So also a fun aspect to this release. So either way, this is definitely worth picking up, even if it's not the craziest color scheme or anything, or the flashiest dinosaur they've released. It is an awesome species choice and a really well done figure. So definitely pick this up once you find it, again at Walmart or somewhere like that. I was lucky enough to get my good buddy Jonathan to hook me up with this one. Again, he is the one that I was speaking of prior when it comes to having that super cool prototype group on Facebook. I'll give it one more plug again for him. If you are interested in prototypes of Godzilla or Jurassic World and stuff, definitely check out his group. I will include a link in the description to where you can check that out. He puts a lot of work into that page, so do that. And of course, once you can find this one, definitely pick it up and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.